أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
ربنا علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد. So good to be with you again. A recap about the research, the methodology, context, and language of the Quran, cross-referencing within the Quran, the oldest lexicons. The one I use is the one of Ibn Faris, who died in 1004. And then we gain insight after the context and the language of the Quran. We gain insight from authentic prophetic tradition and the knowledge left to us by our brethren who preceded us in faith. Radiallahu anhum ajma'in. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The root verb rahama. Rahama is to show kindness, compassion, tenderness. Rahma. A rahim person, or like if you say that somebody is rahim, it is somebody who at a certain time is being compassionate. If you say he is rahim, he is somebody who is always compassionate. If you say he is the rahim, al-rahim, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is the unceasingly compassionate. What about ar-Rahman? Ar-Rahman follows the grammatical form fa'lan. صيغة مبالغة للفعل الطارئ. That's what it's called grammatically. صيغة مبالغة means it's a supreme or superlative state, an extreme state of Raḥmah in this case. But the fact is that it is also what? طارئ. طارئ means that it is emerging right now, it is current right now, it is taking place right now at this instant. It is in the an. So there are many nouns that end with an. If they follow the grammatical form of fa'lan, we can say that these nouns are entities doing the verb, whatever that verb is, in the an, in the now. So here we have those three nouns. We always speak about them. And they are in Surah Al-Rahman, which begins with Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Quran, Khalaqa al-Insan, Allamahu al-Bayan. You notice here that Ar-Rahman follows the form of fa'lan. Quran follows the form of fa'lan, and insan follows the form of fa'lan. What does that tell you? It tells you that these three nouns are speaking of entities that are superlative in their quality, superlative in the quality of Rahmaniyah, which is for Rahman, Quraniyah, which is for Quran, and Insaniyah, which is for Insan. They are superlative in that quality, not just superlative, but superlative at this instant, in the now, and it's being renewed. That quality is being renewed every instant because it's always what? Current. That's the important thing to know. So that gives us an idea why Kitabullah is called Quran and when it is called Quran. It is not always called Quran. It could be Kitabullah. It is Quran when there is a what? There's a qari. Ramadan is the time for the insan. The insan is somebody who has al-uns, the root verb, anasa ya'nasu, yasta'nisu, mu'nis. All of that is about being what? Being a person who gives comfort, a person who lives with another person in what? In agreement. So the insan is that person in the now. It's a beautiful name that we have there, the word insan. So Ramadan is the time for the insan to connect, or actually reconnect, because we do that every year, to reconnect with what the Rahman had allamana, right? Al-Rahman allama al-Quran for us. خلق الإنسان. So what he had demarcated for us, he had demarcated it for us. And the Quran is a living entity. This is something I want you to take from our discussion today, that the Quran is a living entity. Kitabullah, which is on the shelf, is not a living entity. It's just paper and ink on the shelf. But once somebody opens it and delves into it and becomes what? Has a relationship with it, starts reciting, reading, understanding, following, opening their minds, opening their hearts, then it is Quran. It is Quran for whom? For the Qari. So unlike a compilation, unlike a kitab, with time, the kitab or the compilation becomes something called qirtas. Qirtas, the plural of which is qaratis, are static entities. A qirtas is a static entity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to some people. He says, وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِ. They did not give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his due of qadr. When they said that he did not send anything to humanity, he sent the kitab which Musa brought. He sent the kitab, the compilation, which Musa brought. And it was nuran, it was hudan, it was light, it was guidance. But what did they do? تَجْعَلُونَهُ قَرَاطِيسِ. They rendered it, they made that beautiful compilation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the kitab, they made it into qaratis, into static entities. They just did not, what? They did not have the proper interaction with their kitab. And so their kitab became qaratis. Sometimes they bring it out and show people, and sometimes they hide things which are in it, because people often, when they want to quote something, even from the Quran, they quote according to their hawa, to their what? Desires. So you'd find somebody quoting from the center of an ayah. فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. That's the center of the ayah. Where is the if? The conditional clause. إِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى. It's not about women, it's about orphans. So anyway, so people, what they do is they often do that. They, out of desire, they take something out of context, and that is making it qaratis. That is making it qaratis. You have removed the living, interactive state of it, right from Allah coming, right from Allah. If it comes from Allah, it has to be the full verse. You cannot just take out something and say, and use it the way your hawa wants you to use it. It becomes qaratis. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he tells about Bani Israel, he tells us about the previous peoples who received previous revelations, he is telling us to teach us not to do the same. Had this Quran, you see, not the Kitabullah, had the Quran been sent upon a mountain, you would have seen the mountain totally subdued, totally humbled, breaking apart in awe of God. But if he had sent the kitab, it wouldn't have happened, because the kitab is what? It's the entity itself, the compilation, like in a paper form, in a form written on wood, written on a parchment, written on sa'af al-nakhl, on the palm leaves. That is the kitab, something compiled, not the Quran. The Quran is when it is actually interactive. It is read, it is recited, it is understood. If that were to be descending upon a mountain, the mountain would be totally humbled and break apart. So you see the difference between the kitab and the Quran. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min alaq, we are commemorating Iqra every Ramadan. Every single Ramadan, we commemorate that night in which Allah commanded the messenger, peace upon him, to Iqra. And when he commanded him to Iqra, he told him, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Not just Iqra. Anybody can do Iqra. Iqra on its own is something which we do all the time. We are always employing our senses, employing our knowledge to do what? To, if you want to call it read, to read everything around us. We do that all the time. But we do not do it Bismi Rabbina alladhi khalaq. When it is Bismi Rabbina alladhi khalaq, we have to do it on purpose. What I mean with intention. So we do it with intention when we want to do Iqra bismi rabbina alladhi khalaq. Okay? Iqra, by the attribute of your Lord Sustainer who created. He created the cognizant human from a bond with the high. خلق الإنسان من علق. علق is الشيء يناط بالشيء العالي. It is a bond with the high. It's not about creating the bashar from teen. The bashar, our bashariya side, meaning our physical side, is created from teen, earth to earth and dust to dust. As for our insaniya side, which is our nafs and everything relating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ruh, that is created from alaq, from the relationship with him, with something high, a bond with the high. So it's the connectedness of us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is alaq. يرجع إلى معنى واحد وهو أن يناط الشيء بالشيء العالي. So everybody reads by way of what? قراءة. يقرأ قراءة. You could be reading anything as a reading of the قراءة. However, when you are reciting the Quran or reading the Quran or looking into the Quran, you are يقرأ قرآنا. It is about time. It is this time. It is superior and occurring now at this very instant. The Quran has a live, interactive relationship with the insan. A live, interactive relationship with the insan in the now. In the now. It is taking place with every thought, every incident, every heartbeat. Every heartbeat. You will find the Quran promoting the Rahman's relationship with the insan. So that the insan and the Quran have that relationship of, inshallah, نقرأ القرآن. But when we do that, we actually are gaining a relationship with the Rahman. So the Rahman, we gain the relationship with him through the Quran. It is all in al-an. It is all in the now. Rahman is in the now. So Rahman is not just about mercy, right? Because we said Rahman, then we said Rahama, and then we said Rahim, and then we said Rahim. But this one here is Rahman. There must be something special about the word Rahman. It is not just Rahim. It is not just Rahim. Something special there happening in the now. Now, when the people of Quraysh, and you know how their Arabic was the superior kind of Arabic at that time. So when the people of Quraysh were told, prostrate to Al-Rahman, what did they say? إِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ اسْجُدُوا لِلرَّحْمَنِ قَالُوا وَمَا الرَّحْمَنُ. What is Al-Rahman? They did not even say who. They did not even say who is Al-Rahman. They said, what is Al-Rahman? Should we prostrate to that which you command us? And it increased them in aversion. زادتهم نفورا. That word, the amr, زادهم نفورا. That command increased their aversion. So research shows us that Ar-Rahman is the attribute of the compassionate creator mentioned 57 times. 16 times in the surah of Maryam. Why? Because the surah of Maryam is about someone taking a son to the creator. Somebody saying that the creator has a son. Why? Because Ar-Rahman is the compassionate creator. That is what Ar-Rahman stands for. It stands for the compassionate creator, and inshallah it is proven all throughout the Quran. When you read the Quran with that in mind, you will find this proven all throughout the Quran, that the Rahman is not about just compassion. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the compassionate, the most merciful. Ar-Rahman is about the compassionate, the most compassionate creator. Ar-Rahman is the divine source of our spiritual existence. The name he gave to the Rahim, to the womb, as a qarar makin, as a place to be cherished and respected, a place where the embryo is safe. He gave it that name because it's the source of our physical entity, is the Rahim, and the source of our spiritual entity is the Rahman. He is our creator. So call upon Allah or call upon Ar-Rahman, whichever you call upon, to him belong the most beautiful attributes. So Allahu A'lam, this seems to tell me that even Ar-Rahman is not an attribute. It's not an attribute. It's maybe something similar to Allah, which we call lafdul jalala, the utterance of majesty. Allahu a'lam. We have in this ayah here in Surah Taha, Surah 20, ayah 1 to 6. What does it say? Ar-Rahman. It gives us information. What does it say? It starts with saying Taha. We did not send the Quran down upon you to distress you. ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى. It's only a reminder to one who has awe. تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى. We did not send the Quran down upon you to distress you, only a reminder to one who has awe, a revelation, تنزيلا, from who has created the earth and the exalted expanses, Ar-Rahman. تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى, Ar-Rahman. Who is the one who خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى? The one who خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى is Ar-Rahman. So this is very important to remember. And then it goes on telling you, Ar-Rahman على العرش استوى. It's telling us about creation, continuing to tell us, له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وما بينهما وما تحت الثرى. It's telling us about Ar-Rahman is established on the arch of his creative power. His are all that is in the exalted expanses and all that is on earth, as well as all that is between them and all that is between the soil. So all these are clues showing us that Ar-Rahman is about creation. Ar-Rahman is the creator. Ar-Rahman is our most compassionate creator. Then we have ayahs telling us about Ar-Rahman's creation. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة. It tells us about him who created death and life. Then it tells us about him who created what? سبع سماوات طباقا, the seven exalted expanses and layers. ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت. You do not see any disproportion in the creation of Al-Rahman. Al-Rahman, no matter how many times you find it in the Quran, no matter where you look, no matter how you search, you will find that Al-Rahman is the compassionate creator. The surah of Ar-Rahman is all about creation. The sun and the moon, the shrubs and the trees, the sky, the balance, all of that, the earth, his creatures, the fruit, the palms, the seeds, the leaves, all of these in Surah Ar-Rahman are about Allah's creation. And the surah is called Surah Ar-Rahman. So now a question. It's an interesting question. I don't know if you've ever asked yourself that question. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى. And we know that when we pray, we say, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. We know that Allah told us to make tasbih, Bismi Rabbika al-Azim. And what we do when we make salah also, we say, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. But when Allah said, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Iqra Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq, do you know of any instant in the seerah, in the hadith, anywhere, where the Prophet said, Aqra Bismi Rabbi alladhi khalaq? Did you get it? What I mean? I mean, he said, Iqra Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq. It's a command. It's a command that you should be doing Iqra in the name of your Lord who created. And we have never heard him say, in the name of my Lord who created. We've never heard him say that. What have we heard him say? That we should do every time we open the Quran, that we should do every time we put a bite in our mouth, that we should do every time we move anywhere. He told us, the messenger told us to say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What does that tell you? It tells you that Ar-Rahman is Al-Rabb alladhi khalaq. And that the Prophet, peace upon him, when he received as a messenger that command, Iqra Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq, he immediately started, together with all his companions, to start anything they did by Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, because Ar-Rahman is Al-Rabb alladhi khalaq. But it was so obvious to them that they did not tell us about it. You see, that's why we did not find it in any seerah and any hadith. It was so obvious to them. They did not even mention it. But we have to dig to find out those things. We have to research. It's not obvious to us. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Ar-Rahman is Al-Rabb alladhi khalaq. So we say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim all the time. Now Ramadan is Shahrul Quran. It's the month of Iqra. It's the month of the Quran. Ramadan, we took that earlier, the meaning of Ramadan. Ramadan is about something which is what? Acute and sharp. And Ramad are the stones which are heated by the sun. And as far as Ibn Mandur, what he tells us that a Ramadi cloud or rain is one which comes at the beginning of autumn, after the summer heat, to cool it down. So Allahu A'lam, Ramadan, maybe at that time when the name was given to this month, was during that time in autumn. Before that, the month was called An-Natiq, and it became called Ramadan when they decided to call it Ramadan because of the end of the summer heat. And of course, you will notice that Ramadan is ala wazn fa'lan. So Ramadan is also a very special word. It is ala wazn fa'lan as well. And as we just mentioned, any noun in accord with fa'lan denotes something or someone whose action is both superlative, meaning at its extreme, and current, taking place at this very time, in real time. صيغة فعلان في اللغة تدل على وصف فعلي فيه معنى المبالغة للصفات الطارئة. So Ramadan is also interactive with us. It is actually alive. That's what we should keep in mind. So of all the acts of worship mentioned in the Quran, we find that fasting, Sawm, abstinence, is the only one where it's dedicated to Al-Rahman. As we know from Sitna Maryam, who said, alayha salam, in Surah 19, Surah Maryam, ayah 26, Allah tells her, فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. Say that I have dedicated to the Rahman my Sawm. Allah is saying that. He's telling her to say it, which means that our Sawm is always dedicated to Allah. See? I have dedicated my Sawm to Allah, who is the creator. So Sawm has to do with what? With being in touch with Allah, the creator. فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. I shall not speak to any human today. So Shahr Ramadan itself, Ramadan, is ala wazn fa'lan. And the word Shahr is about prominent luminescence. We mentioned that a while ago. It's about shuhra. It's about something which is so prominent and so much alight and so much enlightening. So we should take the month of Ramadan as a means for us to be enlightened year after year, Ramadan after Ramadan, as we attempt to rise to a higher maqaam, state. We want to rise to a higher maqaam, to a higher station, a higher state in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's view. We want that. That is what we are seeking. So when we talk about Sawm, we talk about Salah, what Allah tells us about that, the word Salah, it's communion. And what does the adhan tell us? The adhan of coming to prayer, the call to, what does it tell us? It tells us, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah. Revive yourself, enliven yourself. Hayyi, from hayat, yahya, to come alive. Hayyi, it's a command. Enliven yourself, revive yourself to communion. Revive yourself, enliven yourself to success. Because when there's proper communion, there will be success. And we should remember that. If we had proper communion, we would have success. Falah is success. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah. So now we want to enter today, inshallah, into the highest maqam. The maqam, which is the highest, is the maqam of what? Ibaadiyah. It's the maqam of Ibaadiyah, to be Ibaadullah by choice. To be Ibaadullah by choice. This is the highest maqam. Now, of course, if you want to speak to somebody, you tell them, well, I advise you to worship God. Worshipping God is an advisable choice. But is it a choice? Indeed it is. It's a choice. You are God's worshipper, anta min ibadullah, whether you worship him or not. Why? Because your very being is worshiping Allah. Every cell in your body is making tasbih. You don't realize that, but that's just you not realizing it. but every cell in your body is making tasbih. So you are actually making tasbih without you realizing it. But what Allah is telling us to do is to do it with realization, with awareness. In fact, all acts of worship have one thing in common, that they are there to bring you closer to Allah in awareness. Taqwa. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So worshiping God is an advisable choice. We are free to worship or not to worship. We cannot worship if we want to. Meaning what? Meaning our intention is not worshiping, as I said, but your entire being is worshiping, whether you like it or not. But your intention is not to worship. So that is possible. Allah allows you to do that. And of course, He gives you news of a recompense, of a consequence for that. You don't want to be of His worshippers? Fine. Then you will get the recompense in the hereafter, if not in life. So we are free to worship or not to worship. And humanity, as you look around you, is proof of that freedom. Not everybody's worshiping God. What does that mean? It means that He allowed it. People can do what they want, worship or not worship. Now, the interesting thing here, which some of you might not know, is even the word abada is considered of the addad, meaning that the word abada, to worship, contains the meaning of worshiping and contains the meaning of not worshiping. Because we have in Arabic certain words which are of al-addad, meaning that they bear the opposites. They would bear both the opposites, the meaning of to worship and the meaning of not to worship. So the singular of abada is abd. Although the word abd could refer to a slave servant, the word owned must be added to it. You have to say abdan mamlukan. You cannot say abd on its own. If you're talking about what? If you're talking about a slave servant. And the plural of that kind of abd would be abid. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never calls us abid. He calls us only ibad. And the only time, you can look it up in the Quran, we're always called ibad, ibad, ibad. Ya ibadi. But then there are 5 times when He mentions the term abid, which means slave servants. And these 5 times are in the same identical context of people in the hereafter losing their freedom and becoming abid and being sent to suffering in the pit, in Jahannam. So these people are abid. Only them, nobody else. We are all ibad. Allah does not call us abid. وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. It could be taken, this one could be taken in 2 different meanings. Could be taken, I did not create the invisible beings and the visible beings solely to worship me. Or it could be taken, I did not take them except to worship me. And when you know that abada is of the addad, you see that both work, both meanings work. To worship me or not to worship me, they're free. They can do it if they want, because I don't need anybody to provide for me. The rest of the verses show you that what it's about. Allah says, "Ma uridu minhum min rizq." I don't need that they would provide for me. وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَن يُطْعِمُونَ. I don't need that they would feed me. You see, إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينُ. Indeed, God is He who is the sustainer, the holder of all power, the ever strong. He does not need you to worship. So that shows you that you are free to do it or not to do it. So now we're going to talk about Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. So ibad here, now we know it means worshippers. And it means worshippers of whom? It's worshippers of Allah as Rahman. It's worshippers of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. And as we see, 95 times Allah calls us His ibad. And in this ayah, you see the word owned abd, which is in Surah Al-Nahl, 1675. ضرب الله مثلا عبدا مملوكا. So Ramadan is the shahr for us to be of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan, to strive to be of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan as much as we can. It's the month for us to strive. Every year we might get closer to be of that. But let me tell you something. If in Ramadan we are of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan, or we think we are, and then after Ramadan we change, then we're not of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. You see, Ibaadul-Raḥmaan are people who are always like that. So whatever goodness you you are able to collect in Ramadan, to gather from the barakah of Ramadan, hold on to it. So let's say that now we are waking up at night and praying. Hold on to that if you can, even 2 rak'ahs, hold on to that. Don't you want to be of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan? So try to hold on to whatever you are doing in Ramadan that is special. Try to hold on to that outside Ramadan. That is why Ramadan is there. It's a training session for us of 1 month. 1 month is for training. You train people in a month, training us to be better, to better ourselves. Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. Who are Ibaadul-Raḥmaan? Always. And they always were, they always will be. And there's no change. And they're like that. It's the custodians. It's the angels, al-malaika. The angels, the custodians, and malaika are Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. Allah tells us that. What does he say in Surah Al-Zukhruf? Surah 43, ayah 19. وَجَعَلُوا الْمَلَائِكَةَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ إِنَاثًا. And they rendered the angels, those people during the Prophet's lifetime, they were saying that the angels are females, what they believe. So Allah is questioning that here. He's saying, and they rendered the angels, who are in themselves indeed Ibaadul-Raḥmaan, as females. Did they witness their creation? Did they witness the creation of angels as females? That they're giving them a gender? سَتُكْتَبُ شَهَادَتُهُمْ وَيُسْأَلُونَ. Their testimony shall be recorded and they shall be questioned. So who are Ibaadul-Raḥmaan? They are the angels. الَّذِينَ هُمْ Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. As for humans, being Ibaadul-Raḥmaan is mentioned once indirectly, related to the afterlife, and mentioned twice directly in detail related to this life. In the afterlife, we hear about people who were good at one time and then خَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. After the people who were good and following what they were supposed to do, after them, they were succeeded by generations who lost all communion. أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ, meaning they lost communion, all of it, and followed their desires. إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. So they will be met with disillusion, except, however, shall be those who repent and attain faith and do good deeds. It is they who will enter the garden, and they will not be wronged in any way. جَنَّاتِ عَدْنٍ الَّتِي وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنُ عِبَادَهُ بِالْغَيْبِ. These are the gardens of perpetual bliss, which the Rahman has promised unto his worshippers. So you see, the Rahman has promised Ibaadul-Raḥmaan Jannat of perpetual bliss. Verily, his promise is ever sure of fulfillment. No empty talk will they hear therein, nothing but peace, and they will have their sustenance by day and by night. This is the garden which we grant as a heritage unto such of our worshippers who kana taqiyya, who were aware, having earned the title of the aware. Taqi is the singular of muttaqin. It's a noun, giving the person that label, taqi, atqiya, muttaqin, muttaqi. It's a label just like the label of atqiya, but it's singular. So what does this tell us? It tells us that we are in danger of being the same. خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ. Oh my goodness, وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. Whenever you read something about others, please put it on yourself, and you'll find that it does apply to us as well. So what about in life now? This is what we're interested in today. Today, this is what we want to know. What is necessary for us? What should we be doing so that we will be considered in life Ibaad-Raḥmaan? We have it all in Surah Al-Furqan. The first thing we learn about them is that they are those who tread upon the earth. يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ, not fil ard, عَلَى الْأَرْض, upon the earth. هَوْنًا, gently and humbly, giving the ignorant who accost them only responses of peace. So you're not traveling in the earth or through the earth, you are traveling upon the earth, showing what? That there's no impact. There's no impact. You're not destroying anything, going through it. And you are what? Responding with the word peace to the ignorant. You don't argue with them, just say peace. That's number one. Number two, وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا. Secondly, we learn that there are also those who spend their nights in sujood and qiyam. Oh, see, this is what we're talking about. Ramadan helps us do that in Ramadan, but Ramadan should also help us do that outside Ramadan. Inshallah, outside Ramadan, we should be also doing that because we are doing it in Ramadan. So if we want to be of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan, we should be doing number one, which is treading upon the earth gently and humbly without impacting it in any detrimental way, and saying peace to the ignorance, not fighting with them, saying peace. And secondly, spending our nights in sujood and qiyam. Difficult, but at least we can just get up and pray a few minutes. What I think is also a beautiful thing to do is to make sujood and qiyam the last thing you do before you sleep and the first thing you do when you wake up, if you see what I mean. Number three, we learn that there are also those who supplicate to their Lord for deliverance in the afterlife from the suffering of Jahannam, of the pit, which is the worst of abodes and stations. وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا اصْرِفْ عَنَّا عَذَابَ جَهَنَّمَ إِنَّ عَذَابَهَا كَانَ غَرَامًا إِنَّهَا سَاءَتْ مُسْتَقَرًّا وَمُقَامًا. You are always praying, Ya Allah, صرف عنا عذاب جهنم. Or actually, you don't say Ya Allah, you say Rabbana. As you notice, most of the, or actually all of the prayers which you're asking for yourself in the Quran, you ask through saying Rabbana or Rabbi. However, when you are praising Allah, you might say Allahumma. But when you are asking for yourself, you ask by that what? That relationship between you and Him, which is of the Rabb and the Marboob. Fourth, الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنفَقُوا, those who, when they spend, لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا, they are neither extravagant nor stingy, but they keep a rightful balance in between. So that's the fourth. The fifth, the fifth is really, really crucial. The fifth is the most important. Why? Because the fifth is the one that holds more than one requirement, and it holds the requirement of Tawheed. It holds the requirement of Tawheed, and it holds more than one requirement, which means it is the most important. It should be the one done all your life. It should be the one done all your life, not just in Ramadan or not just when you feel like it. What is it? لا يدعون مع الله إلها آخر. They do not call upon a deity other than Allah, other than God. And لا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق. And they do not kill a self which God has made inviolable except by law. ولا يزنون. Now this is a surprise to many. This is a surprise to many. That zina is so high up. It is in the same verse as Tawheed, the same verse as killing a human self. Is zina. Why? That's a question. Why? Why is zina in this verse? Because once zina becomes rampant, becomes normalized, once you become conditioned to accept zina, what happens? What happens? You destroy everything. You destroy the family. You destroy the relationship of spouse, husband and wife. You destroy the family. You cause qatl al-nafs, because how many babies are going to be killed because they were brought through zina? And if they're not killed, how many children are going to be miserable because they were children of zina? What is going to happen to the society which has lots of children of zina and in which there is zina? Actually, it is said that once you see zina in a society being widespread and normalized, that is when that society is on its way down, meaning the downfall. It has begun its downfall. Khalas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to let it go down all the way. It's going to be destroyed because of zina. So don't take it lightly. The fact that, oh, I have a boyfriend, oh, I have a girlfriend, all of that, all those issues that have become so normalized. Zina is so, so dangerous. والذين لا يدعون مع الله إلها آخر ولا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا ولا يزنون. They don't do it. Zina. ومن يفعل ذلك يلقى أثاما. Whoever does that, which is, I think it's the zina. Allahu A'lam, some have said it refers to all the three deeds. But I think because it says ذلك, it's about the zina. يلقى أثاما, he will indeed find, he will be met with a variety of hindrances, a variety of ithm, an avalanche of ithm. Wallahu A'lam. So that is very important. That's the fifth. The suffering of such persons, this continues, This continues, the next verse continues. The suffering of such persons is doubled on the day of resurrection. Oh my goodness. يضاعف له العذاب يوم القيامة ويخلد فيه مهانا. He or she shall be debased in humiliation. So that is a very severe verse. And if you want to be of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan, you have to make sure that you have that one straight. Here you will notice that with that strong dissuasion, or after that strong dissuasion comes persuasion. What we call dissuasion, tarhib, persuasion, targhib. So after the dissuasion comes persuasion. Speaking of the suffering of those persons, doubled on the day of resurrection, they shall be debased, living forever after in humiliation. But then Allah says in the next verse, إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Ya Allah, Subhanak Ya Rabb. Illa, except for someone who taba, repented, وآمَنَ, had faith and trust. But what does that mean? It means that you repent, but then you have to renew your faith and trust, because you were not mu'min when you did those things. You were not a faithful person when you did that thing. There's no way you could have been even of الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. There's no way you could have been of الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا when you did those things. When you committed those wrongs, killing a person, committing zina, worshipping or taking as a Rabb other than Allah. You cannot even be of الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So now, when Allah wants you to renew your slate, inshallah, and erase that misdeed, that terrible misdeed, what do? You repent and you re-announce your faith and your trust. And what do you do after that? You work good deeds. تَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. That's the only way that you could do what? You could erase that. Subhanallah. It's not just erasing. Is it erasing? Look at the ayah. It's not just erasing. In that case, يُبَدِّلُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنَاتٍ. In that case, God exchanges whatever bad you did for good. He replaces them, bad with good, because you made a proper tawbah and you made a proper return to Him and you renewed your faith and you made amal salih. In that case, your bad deeds will be what? Exchanged for good ones. For God is and has always been كَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا, most merciful and unceasingly compassionate. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all our misdeeds, Ya Rab. وَمَنْ تَابَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَإِنَّهُ يَتُوبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ مَتَابًا. This underscores the importance of oft returning, tawbah, oft returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just that He will replace your bad deeds, remove them and put good ones in that place. Keep tawbah and keep amal salih. When you do that, you will be having the best matab ilallah. The sixth thing we learn about them is that they are also those who do not bear false witness. لا يشهدون الزور وإذا مروا باللغو مروا كراما. See, those two are together as well. What does it say? Number one, here it says, you will not bear false witness. You will not speak falsely against anyone. You will not say anything that is not true, because that is a witnessing of you. It should not be false. But then listen to the next one. When you encounter, when you pass by, actually, marra means to pass by and encounter something when you're not even what? Intending. You're not intending it, but you just pass by and you find laghu. You find hearsay and gossip and words which are unnecessary and maybe harmful. So when you pass by those, what do? Marru kirama. Remember the meaning of kareem? We spoke about kareem and karam. Karam is generosity, right? But to the degree of forgiveness, it is your being dignified in your karam. You're being eminent, actually, eminent, magnanimous in your karam, that nothing touches you. So when you pass by people who are committing laghu, you pass by untouched. Kirama, untouched. Wallahu a'lam, it could also mean that, I'm just thinking now, it could also mean that you intervene. I don't know. I'm just looking at it now, because kiram, it's also about the generosity of giving something and forgiving something. So when you pass by laghu, you pass by without it touching you, as in you did not get polluted by it. But at the same time, maybe you actually stopped it. Maybe you actually were generous and changed that situation from one of laghu to one of dhikr. Allahu a'lam. Allahu a'lam. A good thing to do, actually, whenever you are in any situation, in any gathering of people, mention Allah's name at least once. Mention it in one way or the other, even if the occasion does not call for it. Try and find an occasion to mention Allah's name, because once you say A'udhu billah minash shaitan rajim, even in your heart, shaitan disappears. So at least if you can say A'udhu billah minash shaitan rajim, and then say a word of consolation, a word which renews that person's good intention, Allahu a'lam. Actually, the word Allahu a'lam is excellent. If you are passing by laghu and somebody is saying something about somebody, you could always just say, you know what? Allahu a'lam. Allahu a'lam. I think that's good enough. You would remember to say that, and you would remind that person that Allahu a'lam, maybe what he's saying is not true. Seventh, we learned that they are also those who, when reminded of Allah's ayati Rabbihim, their Rabb, when they're reminded of the ayat, of the signs of their Rabb, they do not fall upon these signs deaf and blind. They actually do what? They actually hearken to the signs. They actually awaken to the signs of God. They actually listen. They actually look. They actually feel the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's very important. Alladhina, this is talking about whom? Ibadullah. Walladhina idha dhukkiru, if they are reminded of God's signs, of their Rabb's signs, their Lord, Sustainer's signs, lam yakhirru alayha summan wa umyana. They do not fall upon those signs as if they're deaf and as if they're blind. Eighth, we learn that they are also those who supplicate to their Lord, asking him to grant us Rabbana hab lana. You see, it's always Rabbana. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyatina qurrata a'yun. Rabbana, grant us of our spouses and our offspring a soothing of the eyes. What does that mean? It means that you're looking at them with pleasure. You are happy with what they have become. You are happy with what they've done. This is beautiful. Even if you don't have children, even if you're not married, say it. Grant us the younger generation to make us proud, to soothe our eyes, to give us happiness when we look at them. We look at them and our hearts melt. They're so beautiful, those young people. The way they are worshiping Allah, the way they are praying, the way they are such good persons. That is a soothing of the eyes. So that's what you'll ask for if you are of Ibadullah. And also, وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Now this is really putting the bar right up there. You know the muttaqeen? Now here you're not asking to be of the muttaqeen. Oh my goodness, you want to become the imam of the muttaqeen. وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. You want to be of the best of the muttaqeen, the leaders of the muttaqeen, the foremost of the muttaqeen. You are raising the bar. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows you to do that. He allows you to ask him for the highest of the highest of the high. You can ask, I want to be with the messenger in Jannah. Ask, why not? You can ask the highest of the highest. Allah is generous. So verse 75 tells us of the lofty status which they earn. Lofty status is the ghurfa. Ghurfa is a lofty place. So it tells us of the ghurfa earned by Ibaadul-Raḥmaan, but due to what? Now this is very important. It's due to bima sabaru. أولئك يجزون الغرفة بما صبروا ويلقون فيها تحية وسلامة. They earn the غرفة due to their forbearance and their perseverance, because sabr means both, that you are forbearing something and that you're persevering in it. So due to that, they earn the lofty status. And what do they get as well? They get reviving greetings and peace. Tahiyatan is a greeting, but the word tahiyya comes from hayy, Yahya, comes from reviving something. So when I give you a tahiyya, I'm actually reviving you. I'm reviving you. When I greet you, I'm reviving you. Isn't Arabic beautiful? Isn't the Arabic tongue beautiful? أولئك يجزون الغرفة بما صبروا ويلقون فيها, and they get there. What do they get? Reviving greetings and salam and peace. So sabr enables us to accomplish what they accomplish day in and day out, in the now, every day of our lives. So we'd like to take that with us from Ramadan to keep continuing those things after Ramadan. It's very important that we do so if we want to become of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. Verse 76 tells us more about their state of revival and peace. It says, خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. They are comfortable and contented therein. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا حَسُنَتْ مُسْتَقَرًّا وَمُقَامًا. It is the best and most beautiful of abodes and stations. And this is in opposition to verse 66, which spoke about the pit, Jahannam, being what? سَاءَتْ مُسْتَقَرًّا وَمُقَامًا, being the worst of abodes and stations. Inshallah, this will be our abode, Ya Rab. Hasunat mustaqarran wa muqama. So the highest maqam here is Ibadullah. The question now is, what if we get hindered, or what if we fail? Well, if we get hindered or if we fail, we just get up again, announce our faith, renew our faith in the Creator, Raḥmah. We seek His forgiveness. We make amends. We try again, as we learned from verse 70, calling unto Him, always, always calling unto Him. إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. You see, تَابَ, آمَنَ, عَمِلَ صَالِحًا. You do that again and again, even if you get hindered or you fail 100 times. You get up again and you do it again and you ask for forgiveness. And inshallah, time after time, it will happen. You will be strong enough to do what? Never to repeat that sin again, or that wrongdoing again. And your misdeeds will get miraculously transformed into good ones, and you will regain your position as one of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. That is the thought to ponder upon today. Ramadan is the best, and it's the best time for that. Ramadan is a yearly occasion for us to pursue our potential, uplifted by the barakah of Ramadan, in commemoration of Iqra. Why is Ramadan full of so much barakah? Because of Iqra, because of the Quran, because it was when it was revealed, in commemoration of that time. Ramadan is a yearly occasion for us. The night of utmost potential or ultimate projection is the Laylatul Qadr. Qadr is about utmost potential, ultimate projection. Qadr of something, huwa kunh الشيء ومبلغه ونهايته. That's the meaning of Qadr. Qadr is what something is, what it can become to the utmost extent. You can benefit from this month to reach your potential, inshallah. You can benefit from this month to reach your potential as insan, as one of Ibaadullah. Ramadan commemorates Iqra. The night of Qadr, ultimate potential, was when God's message to humanity was sent down from the Lawh al-Mahfuz, when the Kitab compilation became for our benefit Quran. And God took it upon Himself to clarify, bayan. Okay? وَإِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانَهُ. Allah took it upon Himself to clarify it for us in the Arabic tongue. So the night of ultimate potential was the night in which this message came down from the Lawh al-Mahfuz and became for our benefit Quran, and was delivered to the messenger Muhammad, peace upon him, with the first command, Iqra. Now, you and I, we would like to be of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. So Abdul Rahman Who is he? He is an insan, or she is an insan, like if it's we're talking about a woman who pursues an active fa'alan relationship with Ar-Rahman. You pursue an active fa'alan relationship with Ar-Rahman. Look at Surah Al-Mulk. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت. Notice again and again and again when you're looking at the خلق, you will find the word Rahman. خلق is Allah's Rahmaniyah. He created everything with his Rahmaniyah. So you will notice here that Surah Al-Mulk is talking about خلق الرحمن. ما ترى في خلق الرحمن. You do not see in the creation of the creator any discrepancy. So it is not the act of worship itself, meaning it's not the fasting itself or the prayer itself, which does the miracle. It's not the prayer itself, it's the effect, the barakah of that miracle, of that prayer upon us that does the miracle. So the miracle is not just that I'm fasting. I'm fasting, I'm not going to gain a miracle just by stopping my food and drink. Nothing's going to happen. But the effect of doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nadartu lil-Rahmani sawman, my creator, I'm doing it for my creator. That in itself brings us the barakah, revives us, and brings us success. When the adhan says, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah, Hayya ala khayr al-amal. That's the call. Hayya ala khayr al-amal. Get up and revive yourself, enliven yourself to the best of deeds. So actually, siyam, salah, all the acts of worship that we do, they are what? Acts of revival. They revive us. They revive us to be the best insan that we can be, to be the best Abdullah that we can be, to be the best ibad that we can be. May we, each of us, be of Ibaadul-Raḥmaan. Ramadan is the shahr for us to have a living relationship with Ar-Rahman in the now. Ramadan is in the now. Ar-Rahman is in the now. The Quran is in the now. Al-Insan is in the now. We're all in the now. Let's make use of this.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين